Welcome to this tutorial. Today we'll be looking at the YouTube API for the custom player. First stop for having your own custom YouTube player on your site, and especially in Flash, is to come to Google Code and check out these links here. All the information on the basics and the codes that you need are in here, as well as links to separate areas. You got JavaScript and ActionScript, parameters. If we go here to the ActionScript, as you can see, there's a full listing of the basics that you need here. They give you what each one does and what its function is. So before you even start making your player, I suggest you come and read up on it here. It is pretty well documented, although not every single function is listed here. The main functions for the beginner and intermediate are here. As well as on the links here, there is a demo section here which shows you the player as is. On the right hand side we got player type AS3, AS2. Reason being is it'll be putting out code. If we scroll down here where it says history, errors, if I click play, it says events and function calls, and each time we change something it throws up what functions have been put there. Basically this is your trace statement or print statement as to what is happening. All these things here are changeable, so you get a good idea of how the code is working. And we have chromless, embedded functions if you're having an embedded player, and if you have embedded, you get your embed code printed out for you. Note that the embed code is for HTML documents. We'll be dealing with the Flash in a second. If you use the embed player, the embedded player will come as standard with its own controls, as you see on this one here. If you want to create your own player, you'll be dealing then with the chromless, which means it'll just be a window, no buttons, no nothing. So you'll have to put your own buttons onto it and create your own interface. Now, as I'm a member of Develop PHP, there's plenty of tutorials here, as well as this tutorial and the downloads from it. Now this is a video player in Flash, but the basics for it will also work with the YouTube player. Obviously taking into account the differences in the code, the rest of it is pretty the same, simple, mix and match. So you'll have your slider, progress bar, time, volume. So I suggest you check this demo out. And also if you're going to be having content that you want to select, there's a nice scroller one here for putting scrollable buttons into. As an example, I have this one here. As you can see, I have my buttons here for other tutorials that I've done, and at the moment I have the embedded player on stage. If I click play, it plays. We've got the seek bar, pause, volume, mute, resolution. Now, as well as having the basic here, because I've pre-set up for chromless, if I select one of my other videos and hit mute, you can see I've got my controls popping up here. I've got my dragger, progress bar, and play setting. You can see the loading in the back there. In the code, this line here is to have the chromed version, the embedded. At the moment, this is the link for the current one that's in the embedded player. You put your chosen link in there. If you're using the chromeless, you comment that out, put that one in, and then this one loads in the chromeless version. If I now click run, all that comes up is a play button, because I haven't got a video loading in its default. If I did, the video would be up on the stage. So if I click it, nothing happens. But if I click any of these, you'll notice.
Welcome. Today we'll be looking at materials.
Now with the chromeless, until you actually put your own buttons on, all you have is the video itself with the YouTube logo on the video. Nothing else. So you have to create everything yourself. So you create your buttons, you create your slider, you create your time, your mute, your volume, and all the controls that go with. And obviously you have your links that go with. You create all of these separately. In the code, you have to initialize and set up defaults, allow domain, set your player position, set your player default size. This value here you use for the chromeless player if you wanted to have a default video loaded. If you don't have a default video loaded, it'll be blank as shown. You set up your initial buttons to their states. At the moment, when it loads, I've got the play button visible as false, unmute as false, and pause button as false. Basically, they're all invisible. Once you hit a play or you a load in of any video, the visibility changes accordingly, so you get your swap out of your play and pause buttons, the same with your mute and unmute. We've got here the controls for time, putting the time into a readable format. We do it twice, once for the total length and once for the position in the play. Then we set up our actual slider and dragger. Now, one thing to note, when you create your slider, make sure that you center the registration points when you're creating the movie clip instance, so that it is in the center of the mouse when you click and drag. When you're wanting to put in a video, you create a button, give it an event, and you have to target the window. Because these are not in the same movie clip, I am navigating to it and I'm loading the video by ID, and then I put the ID that the video is. I then obviously change accordingly my visibility of my buttons, and it then plays. The load video by ID will start to play the video by default. If you put the cue video by ID, it'll put it up on screen, but it'll be in the paused position. This one is basically the same, with an added feature where you can put in your own video ID. This one will be available at Develop PHP for testing and download. And this is what you'll have, the chromless with controls, and you just put into this box here any video ID and hit load, and it will come up with the video. If there's anything else that you want to have, or if you want to have a more in-depth tutorial, please let me know, and I'll do a part 2 and maybe even a part 3 if required.